So, as most of you probably know, it's been some time since I ranked Skylanders based on their designs, and I've kinda got the itch to do it again after the last video I made. As you can probably guess, this all started while I was researching for Pit Viper and learned about his legendary variant, and after a little bit of thinking, I began to ask myself, how many legendary variants are there, and what Skylanders actually have legendary variants? So I would do what I usually do, pull out my handy dandy computer, go to SkylandersCharactersList.com, and manually count every single legendary Skylander from top to bottom. Because I'm stupid. The number of Skylanders that I would get is 23, and after some time I realized that that was way too big of a number to tackle in one video, so I decided to do something else instead. Instead of covering all of these Skylanders at once, like I usually do, I would instead split them down the middle and go from the oldest legendary to the newest legendary, and we will be using a grade letter system instead of a tier system because there's just way too many and a lot of them are pretty good. Once again, we are only ranking the Skylanders based on their designs and not their moveset, so if a terrible Skylander is somehow above a really good Skylander, it's not because of their moveset, it's because of their looks. We will mainly be using their splash art looks with their in-game looks as a secondary source since they have different looks in different games, and this is simply just my opinion. So there's no need to butcher each other in the comments, and if anybody else has a differing opinion, please let me know. So without further ado, let's get going.
Rock and roll!
Now, when it comes to our first contender, I think that Legendary Bash is alright, but he's not exactly the best thing I've ever seen. But he's still a pretty good recolor overall. The biggest highlight for me is the synergy that his design has. By making his skin a dark blue and his spikes a bright gold, along with his tail, and keeping his eyes the same, it looks really good. But once again, this isn't my favorite, not just yet, but I will put him in A tier since he just looks that good. So on to the next one.
Slice and dice.
When it comes to the next Skylander of today, Legendary Chop Chop is almost perfect in my eyes. Well, except for one thing, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, when it comes to everything else, I see it as perfect as it possibly could be. It not only creates a cool contrast, but the color choices make a lot of sense. And besides his fingers, because what the hell, they're not the same color as the rest of his bones, nothing really feels or looks out of place. Well, except for one thing. His eyes. Now, I'm going to admit that his eyes look far better in-game than they do in the splash art, but goodness gracious, I do not know what the heck it is, but they just do not look good. Even though his design is really good, the eyes really screwed it over for me, so I'll drop him in B tier. So with that out the way, let's get into the next Skylander.
All fired up.
Now, I think the interesting thing about Legendary Spyro is that instead of actually using Spyro's Series 1 splash art, they instead use Dark Spyro's artwork. And to be frank, I think they made the right decision here because trying to visualize normal Series 1 Spyro in his legendary colors looks really goofy to me for some reason. But I don't know, that's probably just me. Legendary Spyro lives up to his name because holy hell, he looks really good, especially with the wings. They not only made the base color blue and made his spikes and horns gold, which make them pop out really nicely, but they also made the inside of Spyro's wings gold, which once again gives him a lot of flair. For some reason his claws were made gold, but to be completely honest, I actually favor this one over making them gold. So Spyro gets the solid A. And with that, let's get into the next one. Now, interestingly enough, out of all the legendaries from the first Skylanders game, SSA, Legendary Trigger Happy is the one that catches my eye the most. Not because I like him the most, in fact, he's the one from SSA I could care less about, but to be frank, the coloring really works for him. I like how they made his skin gold and his fur blue, but what really stuck out to me is that they kept his tongue the same color. And that's a little detail I like a lot since changing his tongue to gold or blue would work, but it's something I can't really visualize. So for now, Legendary Trigger Happy gets a B tier, as it's pretty good, but nothing really special in my eyes. But with that out the way, let's get into the legendaries that emerged from Skylanders Giants.
Deal with the wheel!
Now, Legendary Bouncer is the only giant to get the legendary treatment out of the 8 other members. And to be genuinely honest with you guys, I think I like this legendary version more than his original look. It is just that good. I genuinely love how these new colors work with his design and just make it better. Thanks to his new color scheme mostly being made up of the dark blue that we all know and love, it highlights a lot of the aspects of his design and make the glowing part under the folds of his armor even more prominent. I know it's pretty early in the video, but this has to be one of my favorite legendaries legendary so far and is a solid S. And if I have to complain about it, I would say that the gold doesn't look as good as it does on the original figure, but with that out of the way, let's get on to the next Skylander.
Stay cool.
Now, what's interesting about Legendary Chill is that this isn't normal Chill, but it's Light Core Chill that got the Legendary version. But even so, this Legendary version is still really damn good. As weird as it sounds, I actually like how they made her skin gold because it meshes really well with her eyes, along with what they did for her armor specifically, as it just feels far better and more detailed than her normal version, weirdly enough. Her helmet is probably my favorite as it's gold while the detailed parts of it are blue, which makes them clash pretty well with each other. Once again, this is a really good design that is once again up in the A tier for me, but it's on the lower end since I don't think she's as good as the other Skylanders in A tier. But with that out the way, let's get into the next one.
Slash and burn.
Now, Legendary Niter is another high-class legendary, and once again, it's because his design was practically built for the legendary color scheme. Now, most of you probably expect his fire to be an issue, but once again, the dark midnight blue and the bright gold actually works really damn well with his fire. I can't even find anything wrong with this design, and it even looks perfectly fine in-game as well. So with that, I bestow a thigh with the elusive S tier because holy hell, this is really good. So good that I am genuinely considering going out to buy him just because. So with that out the way, let's get into the next Skylander of today.
Hawk and all.
Now, once again, we've come across another good Legendary Skylander, and what's interesting to me about this one specifically is that Legendary Jetvac is another one that works really well. Most of his feathers and skin are a dark blue while his armor is gold, and even though I wish the armor had a little more detail like Chill's did, I do want to applaud the gradient that they used on his feathers near his face, and what's interesting is that they surprisingly appear in-game. The one thing that does confuse me, however, is that his beak is the same color for some reason, but overall, this is a pretty good legendary, but as a whole he kind of is meh to me because of the Skylander, so into B tier he goes. On to the next one.
Armed and dangerous.
Now, when it comes to Legendary Slam Bam, I honestly don't have that highly of an opinion on him, and that's because in my eyes, he's just a hairy blue blob in armor. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, Slam Bam was kinda screwed over here because, like Dark Stealth Elf, there's literally nothing you could really do with him. He's literally just a four-armed yeti in a chest plate with shoulder pads. It really sucks that nothing else was, or really could, be done here. So I'll drop him in C tier. He's not bad, but he's not particularly good unless you count his painted toenails that he has in-game. So with that out the way, let's get into the next one.
Silent but deadly.
Now, even though Stealth Elf has had a, history when it comes to these rankings, I actually think that what they did here with her is actually really good. Her skin and weapons are gold, while most of her clothing and hair is blue, and even though that probably looks boring trying to visualize her, it isn't at all thanks to one detail. Instead of leaving the belt straps plain, they are a shiny gold like her weapons, and they left her eyes alone, which just makes her look really good overall. But with that said and done, I think it's about time that we hop into the next one. Oh right, she also gets an A tier.
Your time is up.
Now, when it comes to the Skylanders that we've dealt with so far, their splash art and their in-game versions have been somewhat consistent, but let's just rip the band-aid off. Legendary Lightcore Grimcreeper is weird as heck, and it mostly has to do with his ectoplasm. In the splash art, he's depicted with dark blue ectoplasm with the usual gold armor and glowing head to represent his Lightcore nature. But in-game, he just looks like a gold Grimcreeper. I can't believe it. It happened again with a Skylander from SWAT Force where their splash art and their in-game version looked drastically different. But even though I'm complaining a lot, I honestly think he's not that bad. So B tier for him. Now, when it comes to the last legendary I covered today, legendary Zulu has always been interesting to me because I have no idea why he was made a legendary. I mean, I know about the Hog Rider jokes and all of that, but still, what makes him stand out over everyone else? But enough whining, let's get into his design. I actually really like what they did here. Even though it's the usual dark blue skin/fur gold clothing look, it actually looks really nice here. But the cherry on top for me is that the dark blue spirits are blue. Yeah, there's a little bit of false advertising with this club because it's gold in-game and his spirit animals are blue, they're still green, but to be perfectly honest, I like this one way more than I thought, so I'll give him an A tier. But with that out the way, this is where part 1 of our ranking comes to an end. Trust me when I said I want to do the usual ranking thing that I always do, but there's like 23 Skylanders and I can't fairly critique them if I stuff them all in one video and had to rank them. But with that said and done, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Like always, hit the subscribe button if you enjoy content like this, share this around so I can grow the channel, leave some comments down below to make the algorithm happy, check out Return to Skylands along with the Discord and the music link down in the description below, and I will see you all in the next one.